If you don't hear this from your long distance boyfriend, you should run as fast as you can. Today, we're going to talk about some of the integral dynamics of long distance dating and something you need to be paying attention to if you're a woman who's considering a long distance dynamic, something you should consider very early on in the dating process. And we're going to cover 6 fundamental things to consider as well. Now, many of you who follow my work know I'm rather poo-poo long distance dating dynamics for a variety of different reasons, but let's explore it on a deeper level. Now, we have to first identify, I've said the word identify now 3 times, I think. Did you meet in person and then it turned into a long distance dynamic? Did you meet virtually and there's distance involved? We have to kind of look at how much distance is involved if you're driving, if it's a driving dynamic versus a flying dynamic, okay? So let's start with the distance itself. Okay. Now, I don't know where you live, but in Los Angeles, long distance dating is more than 15 miles. But certainly when people live about an hour or 2 hour apart from one another, that is actually, in my book, that's considered long distance. And what that means is that it's going to require a different structure in the relationship than those who actually live in the same city where they can see each other on a regular basis. And then there's those relationships that are where you'd have to fly to one another, whether it's a 1-hour flight, a 2-hour, a 3-hour, 4 or 5-hour, or even in another country. And that brings itself a whole nother set of circumstances. So I've been exploring, why are long distance dating dynamics so popular? Well, there is this belief for many people that there are no good people in the city I live in. Los Angeles is the worst place to date. New York is the worst place to date. Dallas is the worst place to date. I do have a client in Fargo, North Dakota. Now, that's a pretty hard place to date. And what I mean to say, if you do live in a very rural, unpopulated area, that might be a little bit different than those who live in, say, Los Angeles, New York, or even in Dallas, Texas, for example. So first, we have to let go of this narrative that there are no good people where you live. Quite frankly, I live in a condo complex with 400 or 500 people. There's a condo complex next door to me with 400 or 500 people. There's a condo complex next door to them with 400 or 500 people. The truth is, your soulmate could literally be living a block away from you, and you just don't know it, because the reality is we're not congregating in a way that we get to meet people in our daily lives. And so what's happened is many people have resorted to this form of connection. And what I mean by this is a virtual connection, whether it's through a social media connection or a dating site. And what happens is we can connect with people all over the country, in fact, all over the world. And the minute you do connect with someone and there's actually a bit of rapport, it's kind of easy to get into I'll call the trap of long distance dating. And here's the trap to long distance dating. Okay. I call it the trap, but, and I'm going to share a personal experience in a moment to illustrate this. The trap is, because you're speaking most likely on the phone or even texting with one another, or maybe FaceTiming, you actually build quite a bit of rapport with this person that you have never met. Let me repeat that. Long distance connections, oftentimes through the incessant communication with one another, the constant communication with one another, you're actually building rapport that doesn't happen when you're local dating. In fact, what I've observed in the local dating dynamic is 2 people might connect on a dating app and they immediately go to meeting one another without maybe even a telephone call. In fact, the dating apps itself were designed for that. Do many of you know that dating apps were designed for the following originally? I think it was Grindr, the first app, but the idea was you're out on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, you're at a bar, and you get on your app and you put like a 1-mile radius to see who's single within a mile of where you're at. And then if you both swiped on one another, you would meet while you're already out out in the town, or maybe you're at home and you're doing a swipe to see if you can meet someone immediately. That's how that was designed. And yet now, because of the algorithms, or excuse me, the distance, well, I was going to say distance restrictions, but distance parameters, you can connect with people all over the country through dating apps. And what happened, or certainly dating sites as well, but originally it was designed to meet someone literally within moments of connecting with them. Okay, much like if you were at a bar and you see someone attractive at the other end of the bar, you just walk up to them. That's what they were designed for. But long distance dating has so coming back to this building rapport, that's kind of the trap. And what I mean to say is you can build all this amazing, intense rapport with someone, and then you physically meet them and you could be let down. You just don't feel it. That happens. It really does happen. You can meet someone you're incredibly attracted to and not have energetic connection. You can meet someone you have energetic connection, but not be physically attracted to them. So this is one of the challenges with long distance dynamics. Now, the other challenge within long distance dynamics is oftentimes this is the trap, if you will. If you're emotionally wounded, you're emotionally broken, you're hurting, you're lonely, whether you're a man or woman, these are very convenient ways to create a virtual pen pal, And what I mean to say is you can connect with someone from a place of desperation, from a place of loneliness, from a place of brokenness. And what happens is many people gravitate towards these types of interactions with another human being, but they're not really capable of actually leaning into a healthy, happy relationship. And that's why we're going to talk about what you need to pay attention to. I'll share this in a moment. By the way, I'm guilty of long distance connections. I've connected with people through social media and have, just because someone wrote me a nice message, we end up getting on the phone. We end up hitting it off on the phone. They live 3,000 miles away. I've been lonely. Certainly COVID caused that to happen. In other words, when you're home alone quite a bit. So there's kind of a natural gravitation to this because for many people, men and women alike, we're lonely, we're hurting, we're broken. And what I mean by broken is we might have been wounded from a past relationship. We might have a fear of intimacy. We might have a fear of abandonment. We might have anxiety, all this stuff in it. The minute you latch on to another person, you can begin a dynamic that may not serve you from a long-term perspective. So let's explore what you need to be paying attention to. So first off, there's long distance dating. There's the initial talking to one another. Okay. And I'm going to use where you'd have to be on a plane ride with one another versus somebody you could drive to. Okay. Is that there's the communication piece. Okay. Now, for it to actually have there's the dating piece. Then eventually what's going to happen next is, do you enter into a relationship with one another? Do you enter into a relationship with one another? So the communication piece is kind of the dating piece, but once you meet, and this is the tricky part, because oftentimes people have physical intimacy right away to kind of seal the deal. Okay. And it is rather important to seal the deal. Because if it doesn't happen, oftentimes there's no motivation to go back if there's distance, because long distance dating is a gigantic pain in the ass if you have to plan, but now for some people, it can be actually an adventure. So let me be clear. For some people, long distance dating is an adventure. They love the bubble of it all. They love the fact that you can just be in this silo of connection and then you can go back to your respective lives. But first and foremost, you need to have good open communication via telephone calls, FaceTime, and texting. You need good, solid, regular communication for the long distance dating dynamic to work. Now, in addition, it's certainly important to have this conversation, whether you're a man or woman, whether you're leading the process or you're in the subservient role. And by the way, nobody should be in a subservient role. They should be in a co-creative role, but you have to ask this question. This is number 2. So open communication, and then this question. Why are we doing this? Like, what's the purpose of this dating dynamic. Are we going to be exploring this from a long-term perspective? Are we going to be exploring this from a long-term perspective? I think this is critically important. Now, here's where the challenge is. Broken people could say all kinds of things that will make you feel like they are fully all in. But just remember, when a person is emotionally broken, and by the way, one of the things I teach in my private coaching is how to gauge a man's emotional maturity. So there's a link right here to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links below as well. One of the fundamentals in my private coaching is to gauge his emotional maturity to determine how I think we're all broken. It's just a matter of degrees. Okay. I think we're all fucked up. It's just a matter of degrees. Okay. My job is to help you identify the ones who are deeply wounded, who are probably less likely to fully commit than those who are actually likely to commit. But coming back to why are we doing this is a critically important question to ask and to continually ask it. Okay. Number 3, one of the challenges with long distance dating dynamics is you have to be mindful that oftentimes we need more validation. Whether you're a man or woman, we need more validation for each other because there's this spatial disconnect. See, when you're in a relationship like let's say a traditional relationship where you spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in your personal and your professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy, you're getting your needs met on a regular basis. And the challenge with long distance dating or a long distance relationship is that many times we don't feel that our needs being met, and so we need constant validation, or more validation, while you're apart. But the problem with that is it requires more than what. Okay, so I want you to think about this. When you're seeing someone on a regular basis, face to face, there isn't need for validation because you're spending time together. The problem with long distance, it requires more validation, and that can be energetically draining to either person. I want to repeat this. Men in particular, we don't want to have to, and women don't want to do this too. We don't want to have to validate the person all the time because it demonstrates maybe an insecurity, but the long distance dynamic has a built-in insecurity structure because you're not physically in your presence with one another on a regular basis. So you have to be mindful to continually communicate and validate the person, validate the relationship on a regular basis, continually asking, why are we doing this? And I know, well, but Jonathan, I'm told to just sit back in my feminine energy and just let men lead. Well, folks, most people who engage in long distance dating dynamics are, I'm going to be blunt, are rather emotionally wounded, broken. Yourself, myself included. Now, I'll be very clear. Many of you know I was in a long distance dating dynamic that turned into a long distance relationship that turned into living together, and the relationship didn't work out. And I'm going to address that in a moment. But what we followed in this long distance dating dynamic was I asked the question, why are we doing this? In fact, I laid my cards on the table. I had the tough conversations very early on. In fact, that's number 4 in this conversation, is having those tough conversations very early on in the process. Okay. And what we decided, and because we felt that there was potential, even though there was 1,800 miles of distance, one of the first things was discussed is taking this long distance into short distance. So if you don't hear the following from a man, if you don't hear he wants to take the distance from long to short, if he doesn't have a plan, or let me reframe that. If you don't have a plan to shorten the distance, then run from that dynamic. Why invest in a relationship if you don't have a plan? Well, Jonathan, we live thousands of miles apart and he has a life where he's at and I have a life where I'm at. then why are you entertaining this? Again, many people entertain this. The reason why they're so popular, it's because we have this belief that there's no one that can fit exactly the way this person fits into our lives, who lives literally around the corner. Folks, there are 1,000 people. Most likely, one of them might be a great fit for you. You just don't know it. But that's a whole nother conversation. See, this is the challenge, is if you don't hear from particularly from the man, because my channel is for women to understand men. If you don't hear from the man a plan on shortening the distance, other than a nebulous idea, okay, an idea is one thing, there's a plan. So in my particular case, many of you know that I was in a long distance dating dynamic. Within the first 60 days, we began formulating a plan. And 3 months after that, she moved from Chicago to Los Angeles. Okay. Now, I want to be clear. She was the one who approached me online. She told me she was considering, she wanted to move out of Chicago to either Los Angeles or Florida. And because we decided we wanted to explore a relationship, we agreed that if this was going to work, she had to be in the same city. And then we eventually said, well, let's live together. Now, was that premature? I don't know. Some people can judge it. Did I go in too fast? I don't know. And when I say I don't know, actually, I do know. It was exactly the relationship it should be, because we actually had a really healthy relationship. We just weren't meant to go the distance. That's the other component. By the way, whether you're in a short distance relationship or long distance relationship, not all relationships work out. I mean, that's just the reality of life. You could literally live 2 miles from another and it still not work out. But what we did was we were asking ourselves, why are we doing this? We had open communication. We regularly validated one another. We had the tough conversations. We talked about the financial resources needed to make this relationship work. And then we had a plan. We eventually found a place. And then I moved in first, and then she moved in after that. So this is the tricky part of long distance relationship. And this is partly why my relationship didn't work out. See, what usually happens is, and oftentimes it's the woman who compromises. In my particular case, I want to be clear. She wanted to leave Chicago. She told me Los Angeles was one of her 2 destinations, along with Florida. I have my son who lives here. She had 2 children who live in Los Angeles. Well, but after losing my son, many of you know I lost a child 5 years ago. I just feel this strong need to be near my son for a few more years until he's fully launched on his own. So I told her this up front, and she said, no problem. I want to move anyway. But here was why I think the relationship failed. And this happens with long distance dating dynamics. Well, just remember, a lot of long distance dating dynamics, people live in a bubble. They appreciate the time together and they go back to their respective worlds. This is where she and I failed, if you will. She never fully integrated, excuse me, let me rewind this. The person who moves must fully integrate their life in the new city. Must fully integrate a life. In other words, create friends in the new city, create a, like say an exercise structure, create activities for oneself. You see, that's really the biggest challenge with long distance dating dynamics, is oftentimes it puts pressure on the person that they move to occupy that person's life. Now, I didn't address this, but in my particular case, she was retired, so that put more pressure. But our professional capacity, our capacity to earn income, has to be taken into consideration. When I said those tough conversations, when I talked about money, your professional life, your capacity to earn resources is a huge component that must be discussed if you're ever going to consider a long distance dating dynamic. And if they're not willing to discuss those hard conversations with you, if there isn't a plan on how to shorten the distance, if these things don't happen, these 2 things don't happen, amongst other things, you should run from this relationship. But Jonathan, I'm hooked. I can't help myself. I'm just fully in. Folks, Many of you are choosing dysfunctional relationships because you're not making a stand for your sovereignty. If you haven't read my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, there's a link below to get a copy of all the books I recommend. Folks, your sovereignty, your emotional well-being is imperative. If you are attracted to a person who is incompatible with you, you have to look at the why you are choosing this wrong person. It might be that you have something known as an anxious love attachment and they're avoidant. It might be something known as the imago, IMAGO. Can someone write that down? IMAGO, imago. I would Google Harville Hendrix and Helen Hunt. You might be attracted to a person that's familiar to you based on a childhood wound or trauma. Okay. Oftentimes we are attracted to the wrong person because there's some healing that needs to be done within ourselves. I highly recommend reading the book, The Hoffman Process, link below. This is a deep dive into healing your childhood wounds and adult traumas. People that choose long distance dating dynamics that are incompatible, it's because they are oftentimes hooked based on an unconscious connection with another human being. And this is why having these grown-up conversations early on is the only chance you're going to have at having a successful long-distance dating dynamic, a long-distance relationship dynamic, and eventually a same-city relationship dynamic. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos as well. Also, if you want to connect with me directly, in the show notes are links to schedule a discovery call with me, to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, to follow me on Instagram, to get on my mailing list, and you can get my dating vows, and you can, check out the dating vows. You're going to want to read that. And also, all the books I recommend are listed below. All right. Those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, write the word question in the chat box and then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. Little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away almost 6 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal today is $50. So I'd love some love for the Connor Aslay Scholarship Fund. Hit that link below right there. I'd really appreciate it. All right, as we're waiting for questions, I want to share with you a comment I got this morning on my YouTube channel. And I had to discuss this with you. So one woman said, Jonathan, you are easily diagnosed as a narcissist with several other emotional trauma-based issues. You are easily diagnosed as a narcissist with several other emotionally trauma-based issues. You know, folks, it's fascinating to me how in this internet world, people can judge you, criticize you, project what they think about you, whom they've never met, whom this person has never met me, to say I am easily diagnosed as a narcissist. I'm easily diagnosed. Now, do I have a bravado? Absolutely. Do I sometimes think I'm righteous? Absolutely. Do I sometimes pontificate? Absolutely. Do I sometimes have a high opinion of myself? Absolutely. You know, it's fascinating to me is if any one of you contacted my 3 or 4 most significant relationships in my life, I highly doubt they would ever claim me to be a narcissist. I have a tendency to be a people pleaser at times. I have a tendency to have anxiety. I have a tendency to catastrophize things that happen in my world. Do I have emotional wounds and trauma? Absolutely. I've openly expressed that. But to claim that I'm a narcissist, now to some degree, you have to have a bit of, to get on camera and do this, you have to have a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of, what's the words I'm looking for? A little bit of ego. There's no doubt about it. But to suggest someone's a narcissist whom you've never met just fascinates me. They who without sin may cast the first stone. So but I'm not going to deny the fact that it triggered me. And my initial reaction was to say, fuck you, bitch. Like, that was my initial reaction. Like, who are you to say that about me? At the same time, my instincts tell me this is probably a deeply wounded person who I triggered, and then this is their retaliation. See, the real challenge with dating, mating, or relating is, as I said earlier, many people are deeply wounded. They're broken. They're hurting. And some people go inward and really crucify themselves internally. And some people do it outward by crucifying other people. And it just saddens me that this happens. I'm a big proponent. This experience called life is a journey to figure our shit out. That's what this is. I believe from a spiritual perspective, we came here to experience pain to some degree, and the miracle. By the way, if you're not familiar with the book, A Course in Miracles. By the way, this is a thick fucking book, okay? Course in Miracles. The miracle is, how do we choose love over fear and pain? That's the miracle. Not how, but it's choosing love over fear and pain. So I send this person a lot of love and recognize that we're all here. We're all hurting to some degree. Some people are hurting more than others. Yes, there are narcissistic people on the planet. Trust me. Any of you who've experienced a narcissistic person, I promise you, you would never want to live 1 second in the life they experienced, because they were emotionally abused growing up. They were emotionally abused in ways you can't even imagine. You wouldn't want to trade places with that person. So I have a lot of compassion for those who sadly hurt people, hurt others. What's most important in your life is how to build your sovereignty, your self-love, your self-worth, your self-esteem, your self-confidence. That is what I want to impart upon you. And let me just say this. Look, dating is not for the faint of heart. Do you know why it's called dating? Because it used to be called this. Holy fucking shit, this is insane. That's what it used to be called, but they chose a benign word like dating, which means about getting to know someone. It is not for the faint of heart. Dating is not for the faint of heart. And yet, what I'm so grateful, by the way, my client, I got another call from a client, Jonathan, I met a great guy, and they're like, she's in this fantastic relationship. I think I work with women who are absolute, like, one of the questions I ask is, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how fully committed are you to investing in your own sovereignty and re-educating yourself to attract an ideal mate? And if I don't hear a 10, 11, 12, or 13, I don't work with people. I only want to work with those people that make a stand for their sovereignty, because I'm going to make a stand for your sovereignty as well. And together, we're going to make sure that you attract an amazing partner in your life. And that's kind of why I'm blessed to do what I do. Anyway, all right. I saw we had a couple questions come in. Bump, 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 bump. Becky says, what does imago mean? Becky, I want you to grab the book called Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix and Helen Hunt. Getting the Love You Want. There's a link below to Jonathan Recommend Books. Click on that link, okay? This will explain it, but it's basically how we tend. By the way, if you had an abusive father and you have a habit of choosing bad boys, that's an example of imago. If you had a domineering mother and men choose, domineering women, it's because this is the imago. So that's just kind of the Cliff Note version of what the imago is. Tina is in the house. Love your work and appreciate your vulnerability. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Trista wants to know, how does she know? Exactly. How do you know a person you've never met is a narcissist? That just cracks me up. Question. My name is Nula, and I'm currently with a man who is married, but his wife has ataxia. He lives in Germany. He needs emotional support from time to time. Give me some tips to keep it balanced. Let me ask you, Zara, how would you feel if the tables were reversed with his wife? How would you feel if your man was seeking emotional sex with another human being? How would you feel? I just invite you to ask that. I don't want you to ask for tips on how to make it work. By the way, you're hooked. So you're basically just recognize that this is a fantasy, most likely a fantasy relationship. He will most likely use you for sex, but I guarantee you, you are not the person he's going to choose. And by the way, the only way to prove this is 10 years from now. So I won't be able to prove this to you, but trust me, you are making a choice to waste your best years in your life with somebody. But here's the thing. If somehow if this fills a need for you, but you're unhappy, then don't choose it. If this fills a need for you and you're happy, then keep doing it until it no longer fills that need or you're no longer happy, which will happen most likely. But you're not going to believe me or trust me anyway. Just like anything, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We humans, oftentimes, we are so in contrast between our fears and our desires. I mean, it's just like we are schizophrenic human beings. Human beings are schizophrenic. We are torn between our desires and our fears. It just fascinates me. Wanda wants to let everyone know, no, you are not a narcissist. My ex was that. Thank you. Christina Knoll says, oh, I'm loving this so good today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Kim is in the house. How do you feel about a snowbird situation in which we maintain a home in both states and go back and forth between the states to maintain our relationship with families? You know, there's a great book. Where is it called? And it's a very simple book. It's called Living Together Apart. And it's kind of a simple guide. You know, many couples are choosing two separate residencies to maintain their relationship. So I'd highly recommend checking out this book. You know, I'm still a big proponent of two people living together. Now, I can understand, you know, let's take even The Golden Bachelor. They realized that they weren't going to be able to take their two separate lives and integrate them. If you happen to be able to integrate your lives and you have the financial resources through this distance, excuse my slurping, then I'm all in favor of it. I have a friend who lived 40 miles from her boyfriend for 5 years. They went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And now they're moving in together. They had to have their separate residencies because the way their life was. I'm okay with that. Okay. If you can integrate into each other's lives, that's the most important thing. Getting together with your family and friends, getting together with grandchildren, doing, you know, exercising together, doing traveling together. When you can integrate into each other's lives, you know, Christmases, Thanksgiving, all those sorts of things, then I'm all for it. I mean, I am not against it, might be a better way to put it. Okay. So Kim, thank you so much. Stephanie says, take your own advice, ignore the biatch. You know, it's interesting. Take your own advice. You know, the reality of life is we can know something and still struggle with it. We can know what's right for us, but still struggle with it. That's part of the human experience, to experience, you know, the contrast. It is through the contrast that we grow. Folks, many of you know I was rather emotionally traumatized, not as a child, not by anything my parents did maliciously. They just unconsciously traumatized me. And I'm still peeling the onion to my sovereignty. And so I'm just here to be an advocate for you to stand in your power more frequently. And believe me, I'm I've always said this on videos. I learn something and share it. I learned it an hour ago and I share it with everyone. That's kind of how I operate in this world. So anyway, thanks for that, Stephanie. Pest says, oh, Jonathan, narcissist now. With all good humor, you're a little obsessive compulsive, like Felix Unger in The Odd Couple. Actually, I'm not a clean freak, but I do have some obsessive compulsiveness, with the extent that I'm addicted to understanding human behavior. You also say you're delightfully expressive and don't change a hair on your head. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. Denise says, your expectations of getting into a relationship are on point. That being said, using your techniques to get a mate can be unrealistic. What I'm saying is that men are out there would run. It could be, okay, I can appreciate many of you may not agree with my methodologies. Given that probably 8 out of 10 relationships aren't going to work out anyway, my methodologies are for those 2 out of 10. What I mean to say is entering into a relationship isn't that hard. Maintaining a relationship is really the challenge, okay? So yes, you can it's like a broken clock. You can broken techniques work to get into a relationship. But I'm here to impart an approach that is for those who are legitimately seeking a significant. I'm here, folks. My advice is geared for you to focus on the men with a long-term mating strategy. A man who has a long-term mating strategy can have a grown-up conversation with you very early on. The men with short-term mating strategies are going to rebuff my advice. I fully agree with that. Men with the short-term mating strategy will rebuff my advice. Men with the long-term mating strategy, if they're physically attracted to you, you connect on an emotional level, and and he's an emotional grown-up, he's going to appreciate the emotional grown-up in you. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Oh, Christine's back in the house. Oops. My mentor set me up with a Jewish man. We exchanged emails and he was going to call in a few days. He went to my Instagram and saw Jesus. He never called. Still following me on Insta. Thoughts? You know, for some people, I don't care if they're, whatever their religious affiliation, they could be spiritual, not religious. They could be Jewish. They could be Buddhist. If your relationship with Christ is of high importance to you, and to another person, they have no interest in having a relationship with Christ, then they are doing you a service and they're doing them a self-service. Now, there's a difference between a person who is Christian and a person who is a practicing, following Christian. Okay. So for a lot of people who are spiritual but not religious, Buddhist, maybe Jewish, they don't have a desire to have a relationship with Christ. And given that it possibly is a huge part of your life, they just recognize a misalignment there. So those are my rough thoughts on that. By the way, we can exclude a person for a variety of different things. The minute you see their social media, you could say, I know a woman who was looking at a man's social media and realized that she had been never married, no children, and he had pictures of his children and grandchildren, and he spent all his time with his children. She said, you know what? I just want a man who's at my stage in life where we are just together for each other. And for another person, that could be, may not fit into their lifestyle. And I'm just using that amongst many examples. I would say political differences. Oh my gosh. I see so many people at friction for not having the same political ideology. So yes, that just falls in line with someone who just thinks there's a misalignment, Christian. So thank you so much. Oh, I am Durday says, Jonathan, I just love your delivery style. I think the word narcissist is just a popular word that society loosely is using for everyone who triggers them. You know, I agree with that statement. I mean, yes, I do believe that there are some people who are so myopic in their world, that they're so in their silo of unconsciousness that they are very self-centric. But human beings operate from a very self-centric place anyway. I just think there are some who lack genuine empathy, who lack the capacity to apologize, that use people. But at the same time, look at all humans have a self-centric component to them. And it's easy to throw out narcissists, as you said, when people get triggered. So good point there. By the way, I'd appreciate some love to the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. Please donate in the by hitting that little $sign. And Tina's in the house. Why would my ex not return a basic text saying, have a great weekend? Yet this same ex of mine from 2 years ago who paid for a quick trip to Vegas with me in July. Well, that quick trip to Vegas was so he could most likely get laid. I'm just guessing, but he has no real emotional connection with you. And again, he's an ex. So, why would an ex do that? Oh, excuse me. You know, I share the analogy. My son and I were talking about this. I'm going to share a video game analogy. So some years ago, my son wanted to get the video game Halo, and you had to wait in line till midnight to get it. And we went to Best Buy, and there was 1,000 people waiting. We were the first 20 in line. We got there like 8 hours early. And he got this video game Halo. And then he's playing it. And then the next video game came out called Duke Nukem. And we had to go to the store at midnight to go get it. And then a few months later, I said, Colin, do you ever play Halo or whatever, or Duke Nukem or whatever the game was? And he goes, yeah, it's on the shelf. I pull it out whenever I feel bored. He was bored. He just knows that he thinks you're just on some shelf in his life, and he can just reach out to have a great weekend because he had a connection with you for a brief period of time, and he was bored, most likely. I'm not saying that's the reason, but again, why do you care? That's the real question. Why do you care, Tina? Why do you care about a man who does this? You should be caring about your own sovereignty. You should be caring about establishing a relationship with a man who can fit into your life, where you can integrate into each other's lives, where you can have a deep connection with one another, and certainly have regular activities together and build something, rebuild the deep roots of trust. Don't care about what anyone else does. Care about what you're doing, okay? Zora comes back and says, ataxia is a condition in which the wife cannot move, cannot speak, and is physically challenged. I was hooked because he's doing everything he can to help her, but takes a lot in his life. Again, why do you want an unavailable man? You are serving a need for him. He's not serving a need for you. Well, I guess, okay. You are an emotional support person to him. And to some degree, you're feeding off an emotional support. But the question is, if you want a day in, day out relationship, then disengage with this relationship. If you want a pen pal, then keep going at it. It serves a need for you. Elizabeth Jameson wants to know, what drink do you have in your cup? First off, my coffee mug says, don't make me go all psycho roommate on you. And I have coffee because it's the morning. All right. But I can appreciate, coming back to the woman, I can appreciate that you admire his care. But just remember, he had built a lot of trust with that woman, and you're just an emotional support person to him. Okay? Most likely. Wanda, I haven't seen him answer anything other than answers about my body or everything going wrong with him. This morning, he said he wants a relationship with me. I like him. I'm like, how? You never answer anything. Wanda, you've been on my channel for months and months and months talking about this guy. I'm always fascinated. Why do you care? Why do you care about this person? I don't think you're not in a day in, day out relationship with him. So why do you care? I'd be curious to know that. McCoy Oaks. Hill Farm. I am not so easy to entertain long distance or guys who do not align with me on their levels. I appreciate that. So I want to, I'm going to hold off on that. So while we're waiting for questions, let's see. Long distance dating. You know, I said this earlier in the conversation. What's interesting about connecting with someone with distance is it allows you an opportunity to build rapport with them. One of the challenges with local dating, when you're meeting a total stranger, it's fucking awkward. It's just awkward when you know very little about them. It's just awkward. And you have to hope for this intense physical attraction to overcome the awkwardness. You have to hope for this intense energetic connection to overcome the awkwardness. And I've had so many first meetings with people where it just wasn't there. You know, you might be physically attracted to them, but there's no energetic connection. You might energetic connection, but there's no physical attraction. You know, this is the challenge with local dating, but with long distance, you build this rapport with this person. Oftentimes you build up so much rapport that you feel like you're meeting a friend. And so it makes that initial connection so easy. And yet at the same time, if there isn't physical attraction, you're like such a letdown. If there isn't energetic connection, there is such a letdown. This is one of the challenges with long distance dynamics. Okay, so Gina says, what if the person isn't a stranger? Okay, great. So two people know each other. If they know each other and they're physically attracted to one another and they have energetic connection, then it comes back to my point. Why are we doing this long distance dynamic? Why are we doing this long distance dynamic? And what's the game plan? What is the game plan? Folks, I've had a number of long distance dating dynamics, and there are times when it's happened because I've been in a place of loneliness. I've been in a place of insecurity. I've been in a place of just wanting connection. And so what happens is I'll communicate, and then I'll pull away. Why do I pull away? Because it feels like an energetic drain to keep up. How's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. How's your day going? I want to hear about all your day. Tell me about your day. Because the reality is after a while, and listen to this piece right here. Talking about your day just gets to be fucking boring. There's no meat to it. It's just the recap of your day. It's not building a relationship requires being in a variety of different circumstances so you can build trust with one another. And this is some of the challenges that happens when you do long distance. And by the way, you can be in regular distance and still need an emotional break from the other person. These are just some of the unique dynamics that people challenged with in dating today. By the way, if anyone wants to join the hot seat, I just put a link right there. If you want to join me live and talk about this, you can just click that link right there. Debbie wants to say, so true, draining. Exactly. Ariel has a question. Jonathan, do you think people know the difference between the meaning of relationship and partnership? Oh my God, I love this fucking question. No. Do you know, okay, let me give you an example. You're on a date with a guy and he says, yeah, I want a relationship. I want a relationship. I want a relationship. And then you begin having sex together. You start seeing each other. And then 3 months later, he says, I don't want a relationship. Okay. This happens all the time. Okay. See, ladies, you might be thinking of the word relationship at this level, and he's thinking of it at this level. And his mind is, I see you at my beck and call. I see you when I want, and I'm not building anything with you. Okay. So your definition of a relationship should have some structure to it. So for example, many of you follow my ideal relationship dynamic where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills both in our personal and our professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. Okay. Now, that's what I want my relationship to look like, because I want it to move towards partnership. Partnership is the integration into each other's lives as teammates. The whole word partnership demonstrates that. If you want to read an interesting, this is a business book called The Partnership Charter, How to Start Out Right with Your New Business Partnership. I want you to replace the word business and say romantic partnership. You can use the principles from this book, The Partnership Charter, to, it's kind of like we see, Jonathan, men are supposed to be the leaders of the relationship. First off, ladies, you're giving the job to the wrong person. I subscribe into a co-creative type of dynamic where two people express their needs, wants, and desires to express what they want in relationship and integrate with one another, instead of the one up, one down. The man is the leader and you must submit. Your job is to submit to men. You must be submissive because he knows what he's doing. Most men don't know what they're fucking doing. I'm saying there are some men that are highly egoic, control freaks, or alpha males. And there's some good, there are some good-hearted alpha males out there, but they're alpha. They want things their way, and basically they want to be in control. That's the whole essence of alpha. They want someone submissive. I'm here to encourage a co-creative partnership relationship, like two attorneys getting together to start a law firm together. This is what this book is about, how to co-create something. Okay. Anyways, I just went off on a tangent on that, but that's the difference. Yes. But most men think of the word relationship as you're at my beck and call. Annette Paul's in the house. What's a good time limitation on self if you have met two likable people online, want to get to know each other, and see who seems to be more compatible? Well, I think the longest you should communicate, if someone lives in your same city, less than 3 weeks before your initial contact to meeting. That's if you live in the same general location. If it's long distance, no more than 60 days, 90 days tops, 90 days tops. I mean, really 90 days tops. If it's a true long, where you can't take a 2-hour drive there. And if it's a 1-hour plane ride, I would say 60 days, 90 days tops. Okay. Christine says, I call it the drain battery or worn out if one partner is not pulling their weight or needing you too much. Thanks, J.A. Yes, I like that. The drain battery. McCoy says, I want partnership. Yay, so do I. McCoy says, I agree. Most men don't know what they are doing. Women can be the same. Women are you guys are just as batshit crazy as men. I laugh at how you criticize men. Men criticize women for a variety of different things. A lot of the red pill think you women are just these fascist feminists. It just cracks me up. But the reality is read books like The Gottmans. Read the book 8 Dates by Doctors John and Julie Gottman. All those red pill guys have no fucking clue how to make a relationship work, because their idea of relationship is you're at their beck and call. That's what they want. And they blame you because you want partnership. Anyway, I am Dread Day. I believe I'm an empath based on my behaviors connecting with people, but seem to attract men who have manipulative ways, emotionally broken. I thought like energies attract like. No, here's the thing. I believe we attract lessons in our lives. Okay, we attract the lesson we need to learn is what we attract. That's what I believe. Sometimes they're a mirror, sometimes they're a lesson, and sometimes just shitty things happen too. Let me repeat that. Sometimes they're a mirror, sometimes they're a lesson, and sometimes shitty things happen too. Okay. Hey, I want to give Debbie some props for the $25 super sticker. Thank you so much. And guess who's in the house but Tina?
Well, hello, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hi. So you read my question and you said that was probably just to have sex, right?
Wait, which question was yours? Refresh my memory for
The one
everybody.
about the no response to the text and going to Vegas in July.
Okay, so this was a person that you had a relationship with prior to, or
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
2 years ago you had a relationship. Did you have a physical, intimate relationship with him?
Yes,
Okay, and how long were you two together?
a year,
How far apart did you live at that time?
maybe 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes. You were together for a year. And what caused the ending of your relationship, Tina?
I didn't feel like he was right for me because
Okay, so you ended the relationship.
I did.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, can you be a little bit more specific?
Yeah, I have grandchildren and he doesn't have any children or grandchildren, and he wasn't even trying to like be kind of involved, like for birthday parties. If I invited him,
Yeah.
he wouldn't come, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And my
Okay.
family is very important to me.
Okay.
He knows that.
And you dated him for a year, correct?
Right.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, why do you think he didn't want to integrate into your life?
I didn't understand it. I still really don't.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
I want you to understand, and he doesn't have any children, correct?
right.
Yeah. So some people have had traumatic childhoods, particularly they might have had some trauma that makes them reluctant to actually be in a caretaker type role. So you obviously have a nurturing side to you, you have a caretaking side to you, and he probably struggles with that because was he a byproduct of divorced parents, or did he have emotionally abusive parents?
Divorced parents.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of divorced people, or excuse me, do you remember how old he was when his parents got divorced?
Under 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he probably had a significant fear about family. So, but you gave it a year, you gave it a shot, and you did your best. Okay. So now, 2 years later, he reached out via text. Now I'm confused.
No, I actually did.
Oh, you reached out via text.
I did. It was kind of like a joke. Okay, so this is how it started, if you have a minute.
Yeah.
I said, well, I took you to see New Edition. I'm sure you may know who they are, right? The group. Yeah. I'm like, I took you to see them when we were dating. So why don't you take me to see them while they have their residency in Vegas?
So wait. Before you continue, I apologize. I just want to understand something. You hadn't communicated with 2 years, and then out of the blue, you sent a text message. I took you to New Edition. Why not you take me to New Edition? Is that what happened? Okay.
Yes.
What prompted you to do that?
I don't know. I just thought that it was a cute joke, but then he actually said he was going to take me, and he paid for the stuff. So we're going in July.
Okay. So you reached out to him,
right?
But okay.
I didn't think he would do anything, but probably like do a smiley face or some kind of emoji, not actually try to do it.
So.
Because we haven't talked and seen each other in 2 years, so I didn't expect.
And in the last 2 years, have you gone on any dates?
We only went to a church revival like 2 weeks ago.
Wait, no. Wait. Let me be clear. Have you gone on dates with other men?
Yes.
Okay, so just put that in a box for a second. But you've still physically seen this man in the last 2 years, even though you weren't dating.
Not until 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, you saw him at church.
Right.
Okay. So he was back in your consciousness. Is that right?
This was after the New Edition text, though.
Oh, this was after the New Edition text. So what do you want?
I was just curious as to why not a response to the "Have a good weekend" text if you're trying to take me to Vegas in July.
When you say you're trying to take me to Vegas in July?
Well, he paid and we're supposed to be going, but if I send him a text saying "Have a good weekend" last weekend and I haven't heard from him, then what's the point of July?
So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to suppose something that's possibly what's going on.
Okay.
He might, because he didn't want to end the relationship with you, you ended it with him. Okay. He
Yeah.
probably has care for you. At the same time, you rejected him. You abandoned the relationship because it didn't fit what you were looking for. Okay.
Right.
And he might feel fear right now. In other words, that fear of getting attached to you, to getting closer to you, while he might be open to doing an experience with you, at the same time, he might be going through it's the difference between desires and fear. Okay. He's conflicted between his desires and his fears, possibly speaking. Okay.
Okay.
So your response, have a great weekend, possibly put an emotional strain on him because I don't want to get too close to her. She's going to dump me again. But I want to I'm lonely and I want to connect with someone. So he's going through his emotional, internal, possibly his internal fears. Okay.
Okay.
He might be what's known as an avoidant attachment style. That's possibly what happens to someone. He might be a fearful avoidant or a dismissive avoidant attachment style, given that his parents went through a divorce at age 10. He might also be an anxious attachment style. In other words, you might be the avoidant in this dynamic. It's really hard to say. So I guess the question I want to come back to, you reached out to him out of the blue. I suspect you did that. What was the reason why you did that? Because you said it was like, oh, I wanted to be a joke, but this is somebody you used to know. He's in your past.
Yeah.
So there was something gnawing at you that caused you to do that. So why not?
I
Let's
cannot think
explore
of
that.
I can't think of what it could have been, but it was just in my head when I saw the promo for the residency. I was just like, hey, let me just shoot this to him and see what he says. But I didn't think, I just figured he'd probably laugh at it or laugh emoji or something.
Okay, but he then said, let's go. Why did you say yes?
Because I really would like to go.
Okay, and he's paying for it.
Cool,
so you're
company. Yeah, he's cool company. We went before, and he was cool company when we went before once. So I figure we're just friends. Why not?
Oh, by the way, Barbara says he might be having a good weekend with someone else. Remember, no kids tying him down.
You may be right, Barbara.
Yeah, he might have someone else in his life, and you're just a placeholder in this particular space in his life. But by the way, you're also making a choice too. This is where I want you to own something.
I am.
See, you're making a choice that goes against your desires. And you're making this choice because I suspect you're in a state of fear. In other words, you had a good time with this person. It's like my son in the video games I was talking about earlier.
Right.
He's just on the shelf to you and you remember good times. So you're just going to go, I'll just pull out this video game and play it because I'm bored right now. How does that really serve you in your life? Let me ask you a question, Tina. Do you want a significant relationship where you spend regular time together doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, integrating your family and friends with one another, where you have physical intimacy on a regular basis, where you have teamwork? Do you want that kind of relationship?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then why initiate someone who can't fit into that scenario?
That's a good question because I didn't. I don't know. That's a good question because I'm not trying to date him again because I don't want to date him.
Yeah, but you're engaging with him for a reason. Oh, by the way, to some degree, you're using him. I bought you tickets, so I need you to buy me tickets. Like that's using someone.
Okay.
I mean, it can be considered that. I'm not saying it is.
Right. I can see what you're saying.
But
yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but I can see what you're saying though.
Like, is it fair to, by the way, I'm going to be on his side for a moment. Is it really fair to him that he didn't want to end the relationship? You ended the relationship because because he was incapable of integrating your life. Are you really being fair to him if maybe he's hoping you want him back? By the way, do you know how cruel that is to possibly create hope in the other person, knowing that you don't want to go back to that dynamic? That's not fair to him.
It's not, but I don't think he wants that either. I think he understands it's
Well,
just
you don't know. No, wait,
I
wait,
think
wait.
it's a friendship thing. I think
Well,
that's what I see. I think he sees it the same way.
time out. Time out. Excuse me. You say, I think. You
Yeah,
don't say, I know. There's a
I
big difference
don't.
between assuming versus
True.
having a grown-up conversation with them
Well,
about what are we doing.
side note, I did text him when he texted me that he finally got the tickets and he got the hotel, the flight, and then he says, "Well, you know, I still love you."
Ah, so think about that. I'm
So
going to be on his side for a moment.
I would
Okay. I'm going to be
appreciate
on
it.
his side for a moment.
Yeah.
He still has genuine care for you, but you don't want him in his life. Is that fair to him?
No, no, it's not.
I hear a but you have a
Because I
but
just
at
figured
the end.
we're just friends. We're gonna be just friends, and
But
it's
he
not like
said,
I
I
don't think
love
I'm gonna
you.
see. Yeah, he did.
Well, then I think you need to address that as a grown up saying, look, I'm open to being friends with you, but I want you to go find a life partner that will love you the way you need to be loved. Like
Mhm.
that's a grown up thing to say to him. Like, look, I appreciate that you love me, but I want to encourage you to go find a life partner who's going to love you the way you want to be loved. By the way, Tina, if this was in reversed, I'd be saying the same thing the other way around.
You know
You
what?
know,
I
it's
appreciate it. I appreciate your honesty because it's
yeah.
always good to hear somebody else's point of view on things. So,
By
yeah,
the way, Catalina says, got to give it to Tina for calling in on a video call. It's brave of you.
thank you so much, Catalina.
All right, Tina, I hope I hope you take some of my
I
suggestions
will.
and have a grown-up conversation with them. And I appreciate you being brave enough to be on here. So can I
One
give
quick
you a big,
thing.
gigantic
One
Jonathan
thing,
Bear
John.
hug?
Sorry, one thing.
What? What?
So you would say on his behalf, on my behalf, I should not try to go to on in July. I should not
No,
go.
that's not what I said. What I
No,
said
no,
is
I'm saying, I want your opinion. Do you think I should try to go or no?
well, I would have a grown-up conversation with them, letting them
Yeah.
know that you strictly are only interested in friendship, but
Okay.
that you encourage him to find a life partner. And it's absolutely okay if he wants to cancel this event. Let him
Okay.
know it's okay if he wants to cancel the event. Just be in an integrity with him.
Okay.
That's the most important piece.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, Tina, giving you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye now. So I want to give Tina some props for being brave and sharing this. There's a lot. Here's the thing. Did you notice I asked a lot of little detailed questions because we wanted to get clarity on what was actually going on between the two of them? Because it's, many times you come here with a surface conversation, but when we dig a little bit deeper, we found that she was the one who initiated contact with him out of the blue because she saw something that she thought was going to be a joke. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you why I don't appreciate the joke. Okay. Um, if this person deeply cared, how is that person going to receive the joke? Okay. Now I recognize that I think she didn't mean the word joke, but she thought, I think she was thinking of the word nostalgic. In other words, it was nostalgic for her to create a connection with him. But what was her deeper reason for connecting with him? I think most likely she had some care for him at the same time, and she had good times with him. So it's understandable you want to connect. But I'm also all about being in integrity. This is why, if you noticed, I mentioned to her, be in integrity with him, have a grown up conversation with him, because he might actually have feelings. Ladies, if this story was reversed and it was the other way around, a man was on and this was happening, I would be lambasting the guy for being inconsiderate to her feelings. And when I'm saying inconsiderate, I'm just being recognizing that if someone loves and cares for you, it's kind of a tease to open that up, And so if her purpose is to be friends, here's the thing. All right, so I didn't say this to Tina, but if Tina's watching this right now, I want you to recognize something. If you met the love of your life tomorrow, Tina, would this man still be a friend in your life? He wasn't a friend for 2 years, all of a sudden you initiate contact, you establish some connection, and then, but if you met the love of your life, this guy is gone. You see, this is something that really irritates me within human beings, this idea of friendship, okay? Friendship is something sacred, okay? It requires nurturing. A friendship requires nurturing. I think she's just, for whatever reason, my instincts tell me she's a little bit lonely. She wants connection. She felt nostalgic and she just wants connection. But you would diss that connection in a heartbeat. Is that what a friend would do? Okay. So don't open up a wound for him. If it, and by the way, I would say this to a man too. I believe that, in fact, I did a post on, oh, hold on, folks. I did a post on YouTube yesterday, and I want to read it to everybody. It was a wise man quote that said the following. I want to read this. This is very poignant. A wise man once said, if you look at her and you don't feel anything, then she is not yours to keep. She's another man's blessing. Be real about how you feel and stop wasting her time. We all need to stop messing with other people's soulmates. That's really hit me hard. So, Tina, is it really fair to him that you open this up if you are not serious about a relationship? And by the way, again, this happens the other way around more often. It's men that do this shit, that are completely unfair to another person, teasing another person. This is why I'm such a proponent of grown-up conversations. And Tina, again, I think it's very brave that you came on and shared this with us all. I want to give you your props. I hope you take my advice and really let it marinate for you. But folks, if we want to start having grown-up relationships, then each one of us should make a stand for what we want, stick to what we want, hold space for what we want, and don't interject maybe your loneliness, your fears, your hurts, and someone else into your life, because that's what's happening today when you can simply say a text message, do you want to go to New Edition with me? You owe me one. I get that it was I get that you think it was a joke. As I said earlier, I think it's nostalgic, but is it really cool? That's the question I invite you to ask yourself. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below about what I just shared. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And also, if you want to connect with me directly, check out the links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Follow me on Instagram. Get the books I recommend and get my dating vows as well, all listed below. All right. I'm going to wrap up in a moment. Glad we have each other to vent. I appreciate you all. Just want to say thanks. Wish everyone the best. What does Jonathan say? Salty, juice. I say juicy, delicious, healthy, happy relationship. Salty is my son's nickname. All right, everyone. I want to thank you for being on and sharing this conversation. Certainly, I appreciate Tina for being on. Everyone, I'm going to head out today. I'm going to go meet someone for coffee, someone I met through a dating app. We'll see what happens. Who knows? It's always new opportunities. Just as my friend says, there's always a new bus coming around the corner. Who knows when you might meet the person of your dreams? I want you to all make a stand for your sovereignty. Put yourself out there, and wishing you all a super duper wonderful, fantastic day. Be well, everyone. Thanks a bunch. Bye now. And thanks, Debbie, for the $25 super sticker. I really appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Have fun, everyone.